How the hell you guys doing, man?
Just vibing.
Vibing. All you
Got
can
a
do.
haircut.
Raw. Nice. Any new regulations or anything cool coming out in the old hill? Or just
Oh,
same old, same
jeez.
old?
Always new regulations on the old hill. Always stupid nonsense. Well, they are. Well, I know that right now they're thinking of doing a credit card rate cap of 18% nationally, which would be a lot higher than the 36% cap they have in a lot of different states. Or I guess lower. The cap would be lower, which yeah, that'd be interesting because it basically means that a bunch of people who are high risk, like high risk borrowers would not be able to get credit because obviously the only reason why credit card companies have really high interest rates is because the people that are using the credit are usually high risk, and they don't think that if you're high risk, you have to higher the interest rate because it's you got to make up for the cost of potentially defaulting. And yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But yeah, that's like the biggest thing I've noticed like recently, at least in the finance policy space.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
me
me
and
and
Oh, hold on, there
I
we
was gonna
go.
say, is that mine? Me and my
Yeah, no, you're good.
girlfriend me and my girlfriend watched Legally Blonde 2 over the weekend. And I don't know if you saw that one. I wouldn't
Oh,
be
hold on, I
surprised if you
lost you.
didn't. Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you say that one more time? Sorry about
No, no, no. I was saying my girlfriend dragged me into watching Legally Blonde 2 over the weekend.
that. Okay.
Did you see that one?
Legally Blonde too? No.
I wouldn't be surprised. It's a chick flick, man. We couldn't find
Yeah.
anything and she's like, "Please." And I'm just like, "Fine." She basically um she was trying to throw this party for her dog and she wanted the dog's mom to be there. So
You're
she went to
wait, your
this is on the
fiance?
movie.
Or,
This is on the
oh,
movie.
okay. Oh, okay. In the movie.
No.
I'm like, I say it's very interesting. I was giving a little bit of silent judgment. I'm like, really?
I don't blame you. But so in the movie, she wanted to throw a party for her dog, but she wanted the dog's mom to be there. So she went to go
Of
find the
course.
dog's mom, and she realized that she was in some testing facility because they was using like dogs to like test makeup. She's like, "I'm going to change the law," and then she's like, "I'm going to go to DC and change everything," and she ended up doing it, and it was just fucking funny as fuck. So
That's
if
sick.
you living in DC, you might get a little kick out of that, you know.
Yeah, I could check it out. I don't know if Antoinette is into Legally
Chick flicks
Blonde.
like that.
Well, I know she's into chick flicks for sure. Like she likes I don't know. I actually don't know any chick. We don't watch chick flicks, but
I don't blame you for
that's
not
because I'm
knowing any.
mad. That's because I just can't stand them. But like
Bro,
maybe I'll have to check
it's
that
like
out.
they're so bad, and you don't watch them, but then they get interesting. And you're like, I cannot believe Tommy did that.
But I saw a TikTok that was like that. It's like when your girl is telling you like tea, like gossip, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, at work, blah blah. And you're like, I don't care about that. But then what happened?
exactly.
Really? And then at the end of it, you're like, oh my gosh, he did what? You're so into it.
Drama, man. JT, how
Yeah.
you doing over there, man? We just chatting about Legally Blonde too.
good, good. I've believe it or not, I've always when I was younger, I used to watch chick flicks because I thought they were good movies. The older me, I can't sit through it at all. But it's funny. Like I used to watch movies. Like I watched The Notebook. That's one of the most famous ones. I love that movie.
I've seen that one.
Crazy Stupid Love was another one, and like it was a
Okay,
bunch of
Crazy
them.
Stupid Love is amazing. That's an amazing movie.
But that's
Did
a
you guys
chick flick,
see?
bro.
Did you guys see Pretty
Is
Woman?
it?
I think I never seen Pretty Woman though.
That's supposedly like the best one. It's like a mom's
Pretty
favorite.
Woman.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get it twisted though, guys. I'll still beat you up. No, I'm just playing. But
Yeah, we got the best
But-
striker in the U.S. over here.
Yeah, best striker. But I cried at Pretty Woman. But every time I watch Pretty Woman, I'm balling up.
Oh
man,
man.
I'm good though, man. Look, you know how they say being a single mother is like one of the hardest jobs in the world.
Yeah.
So as you guys know, this past month I've been with the boys more than normal. So it's just been us here And Jesus Christ, they are right. They are right. It's like certain moments where you literally feel like nothing can be done.
Yeah, I mean,
So intense.
especially as a guy. I mean, I'm not trying to
No,
go off
yeah,
on a whole
you're
nother
right. Like,
topic
we're
here,
literally
but
not wired for it at all. And I think about that pretty often. It's like it's not natural, like certain thoughts, but you learn them over time and you get better. But it's like, how didn't I think of this before? You know? But there,
maybe watch more chick flicks and get your estrogen levels up.
There we go.
Yeah. Last random fact. I was what is the animal? Lemurs. Meerkats. Sorry. So meerkats, the female meerkats have double the amount of testosterone that males have. Isn't that weird? It's like, isn't it weird how like nature on certain animals like just does the opposite, and like certain
Horses, males have babies. Yeah.
Like it's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty. And there's like certain species where the female is dominant, whether she has more testosterone or not, and it's just like, huh. It's just weird.
Yeah.
But
Well, they eat the guys sometimes, like black widows.
Yeah, I was saying spiders, they do that.
Yeah. They're a lot bigger too. The males are little betas, little
After
beta
they,
warriors.
After they deposit their sperm therein, I guess that was a nice way to say it. They eat 'em.
After they deposit their sperm, it's the
Oh,
most like.
All right,
Yeah?
let's go and kick this call off, guys. JT, you good?
yeah, I just had to get up and grab some water.
Okay.
No issue.
So yeah, guys, real quick, not you guys, but just everyone listening. Our free mint for our Grow It Out is happening Friday at 4:44 Pacific time. Make sure you go and grab one. It's only going to be $7,500. First one's free. Commit up to 10 per wallet, $1.11 after the free ones. You get access to the best video in the course. You get access to a call with our DeFi experts until the Know It Outs launch. You get whitelist access and a slight discount on the Know It Outs mint, and a lot of other utility to come in the future. So make sure you guys go and grab your free Grow It Out. Man, how you guys want to start this off? Anything interesting happening? Isaac, I know you were telling us about the credit card thing. JT, what are you looking at on your macro radar?
To just touch on credit cards really quick. You know, I'm sure you guys may have heard now. I feel like it's been pretty popular in terms of like sub headlines. But the average interest rates on a credit card right now is like 19.8%, so 20% basically. That's pretty high. We've reached $1 trillion in credit card debt. So it's like, it goes back to our earlier conversations. Like, I honestly don't know if I should really be concerned about the amount of credit card debt, and the interest rates on those credit cards, just because, you know, I've seen 30% interest rates before, sometimes even 40% interest rates on the credit card. So I'm just not sure how that would play into things, but I feel like people have been trying to make a deal out of it, and it's just not working. I really feel like we've entered a time. Oops, my camera isn't on. I really feel like we've entered a time like where there's so much data out right now, and you can make a case for so many scenarios that it's a lot of people don't realize it, but they put themselves, or the principle of the law, or the law of diminishing returns, it plays out in their research, because they're pulling things from so many directions, and I think we're all kind of a victim to it now. But yeah, it muddles the picture even more the more you look into it, and what that forces us to do is kind of like recluse into like these absolute
Recluse, that's a good one.
Yeah, into these absolute conclusions, so that to these absolute conclusions, so that way we don't seem dumb or whatnot. And I feel like a lot of people are actually doing that, because sometimes what they say, like their outcomes that they predict, it literally just doesn't make sense at all. But they pull out some super esoteric data that's relevant to this one sector, and pertaining to the macro, it's not really going to do much. And they take that and they basically extrapolate it all the way out, and they're like, yeah, this is going to cause everything to crash. Prime example right now being Airbnb. So I remember I brought this up to you guys on the last call, so I'll tell you what those regulations are right now. So basically, they're canceling, for one, any booking that happens after or if you have a booking right now, right, and it is for after December 2nd of this year, they're canceling it and they're refunding it. You can't book it after December 2nd.
Anywhere in the United States?
This is getting rolled out in NYC. It might happen everywhere else, but we'll see. But usually throughout the past couple of years, whatever NYC does, it starts to trickle out in other markets for sure. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see it. And that's pertaining to Airbnb specifically. Now, another thing they did this in Palm Springs as well, like a year ago. But they're not allowing more than 2 persons per stay at an Airbnb. Think about how shitty that is, for one. So you get a lot of groups that go for Airbnb. I've never been in an Airbnb.
No matter the size?
No matter the size. So I've never been in an Airbnb personally with like just me and another person. It's always been like 3 or 4 every time I stayed in an Airbnb. Yeah, because I never went with like my girlfriend or anything. I'm always doing something, so it's always like a group of us, right? The host has to be present if the stay is under 30 days, which most of the probably 80% of your stays will. Yeah, so most of your stays will be under 30 days. So that's just bullshit. And so yeah, so they basically banned it. And you have to register every time. And if you don't, the company and you as the host could face hefty fines. And because of that, they've seen like 11,000 listings getting taken off of Airbnb alone. So keep in mind, Airbnb isn't the only company doing this. So just 11,000 off of Airbnb. And so although that could sound really dramatic, some people are like, yes, this is going to cause home prices to crash. Not necessarily.
Man, does Airbnb have a competitor? Like Uber has Lyft?
Vrbo is one, and like I can't think of anybody else.
Oh, okay. I never heard of the other ones.
Yeah. VRBO is expensive though. So yeah, I feel like we've entered that time where it's like there's a lot of data and they make absolute conclusions and they sound like fucking dumbasses. And
this
that's
is like
an example.
This is like a good insert for what Bill's Family Guy jokes when he's like, "Oh, it's reminds me of that one time where such and such in the show scene." I was gonna say this is kind of like those people who read the Bible and they try to use any fucking like Bible line to justify what they're saying. And I wish it was like some scene that would come up and be like, but whatever.
Yeah, if only if life was like Family Guy. I mean, we could just do it when we edit the video or not. You could just throw it in there.
Actually, I might do that. No, probably not. But we'll see. Man, so
yeah.
What's y'all thoughts? Or were you going to say something else?
Go ahead. If I was just going to finish up on the real estate tip, just because I know I was going to go back.
Finish up. I was going to ask about the Fed. You can finish up.
Okay. So the Fed will tie into this. So maybe you go ahead and
I was just going to say, like, what's your guys' thoughts on the Fed right now? Did any of you guys' view change, anything like that?
Okay, so I got to bring up the housing market, actually. So I'll start there to answer that question. So right now, so the other day I was kind of looking up some numbers in terms of like institutional ownership. That includes the Federal Reserve as well, of single family homes, because I just hear a lot of people saying the housing market is going to crash, and it just doesn't. And if the housing market crashes, guys, you better believe we're going into a recessionary environment, like 100%. So it's going to trickle through everything else. So that's why it's important, where it's like people are like convicted that this crash in the housing market is going to happen to the tune of 24. Bro, there was a guy who said he's not going to buy until he gets prices at 50% from what they are now. Bro,
never buy.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's never going to happen. But anyway, so institutions right now, they own about 25% of the market. I want you to keep that in mind. A quarter of all homes. That's worth $11 trillion. So the real estate market is about $42 trillion, I think. So they own $11 trillion. The Federal Reserve owns about $2.5 trillion. So when I did the math in real numbers, based on the total value of the housing market, that number came out to 30% of the entire housing market. So let's even talk about why this happened in the first place. Because at ZIRP, obviously yields were low, so they went on the rampant search for yield. Long story short, the housing market provided great yield through rentals. It always have and it always will, right? And it's a good hedge against inflation long term. And so they weren't buying. They were still buying bonds, providing loans, investing into equities and stuff like that. But the yield in the housing market was a bit better. And so you had them piling into it, which is why we're here today. So now you're at an environment in which $13 trillion of single family residence is owned by institutions in the Federal Reserve. People talk about this supply that's going to come on the market. The Federal Reserve has stopped rolling off mortgage-backed securities on their balance sheet. They're still at like 2.6 trillion. So they stopped. They've halted. Maybe it's temporarily, but they can't just offload it into the market at one time, because that's going to cause the market to crash and cause interest rates to go up even higher if they started just offloading MBS. And so there is not a practical environment in which I see a 30% excess in inventory coming onto the market at one time, causing the housing market to crash. And other than that, I don't see an environment in which it even declines. I see it stagnating, because you have demand, but you have such low supply that the market just becomes stagnant. And so you get lower growth going forward, but I don't see an environment in which it declines. The Federal Reserve, obviously they're going to pause here in September, like this week or whatever.
Is that like
tomorrow? It starts
obviously
tomorrow.
It's not guaranteed, but that's what people are like voting on here.
Yeah, 100%. But even if sometimes, the market could get it wrong, but I agree with the consensus that they're going to pause. It just makes sense right now, because it's so much coming from every direction.
This will be their second pause in this rate hike, right?
Rate hike cycle, I think so. The second one, yeah.
Okay.
In November, I think they're going to raise rates again. I don't know if it's going to be a 25 basis point rate hike or a 50 basis point rate hike, but we have so much data. We have been talking about inflation ticking back up due to energy, which has happened. And now you've got exacerbated pressure on that because OPEC is like on strike with their oil production. And you could say that's blamed on California and whatnot, want to get rid of all internal combustion engines by 2035. But either way, they've committed to cutting production, which is going to be a tailwind for oil prices. So that's why people are saying, we're going to get $100 oil price. We're at like 90 on Brent crude, $91. So we're going to see elevated inflation, not like super elevated where it's like 10%, but just, elevated from that 2% target, which will kind of force their hand. I think it'll force their hand. Now, the labor market plays into that as well, but I'll let Isaac give some input before I go on to anything else.
Yeah, Isaac, what's your thoughts on all that stuff, man?
It's bullshit. No, go ahead.
You say it's bullshit?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot, obviously, to digest there. Yeah, I mean, I think that we're probably getting a pause for next month, or for this month. I think for the next, we could see it go up. I was just checking out the CME betting markets here, and it looks like people are betting like overwhelmingly that we're going to get a pause for this month.
Chicago Mercantiles Exchange, guys.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, I got to grab my headphones because it's going to be echoing.
Oh,
really?
Is it?
That sucks.
Why so? Why so? What do you think?
Maybe not, because yours never echoes, bro.
Yeah,
So-
yours is always fine. We're fucking up.
As well, and my phone is here. And
Oh yeah, you fucked up.
so
Wait.
Huh?
Hold on. Have you been why we've been echoing?
No, I usually use my
Okay. Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, go on and grab them.
All right.
What were you saying, Isaac? We can keep going until he gets back.
Well, yeah, I mean, just that the betting markets seem to indicate that we're probably going to get a pause this month. They're betting like 2-1 that we're going to get a pause in next month as well, or in November. And I think that the reason why it's starting to tick up again is, like JT was saying, the whole OPEC situation is providing a lot of uncertainty. And if we do see, and I think we're going to, like, it's just because the energy market is a big determining factor for what inflation is going to do. And if we see, like, the barrel prices go up to $100 for the first time in 2023, I mean, you could bet your ass that inflation's going to be going up as well. And I don't really see this changing. I actually looked into a bit of why OPEC is increasing these prices. And there's kind of like a few ideas because it's mostly obviously led by Russia and Saudi Arabia. They're the two biggest, instigators behind this, like a bit of a slowdown in production is how they put it. And the reason why I've heard that actually kind of makes sense is there was a lot of investment into China and reorientation both in Saudi Arabia and in Russia to begin selling oil to China. But because of recent economic stagnation and kind of like a lot of the estimates of what China's need for oil like were a few months ago have been revised, and they didn't need as much as they ended up, as much as they stated. And this actually led to Saudi Arabia and Russia coming in at a loss on a lot of that oil production. So there's a running theory, and obviously they're not going to be very honest about it, but because the OPEC meeting was completely closed doors there was not reported on. But the theory goes basically that they took a loss on a lot of these productions, and they are now lowering production to decrease production costs and then artificially inflating the price of oil to keep revenue fairly stable for them.
Because there was a demand shock this year, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the general idea. So we could see this change, which is good. I mean, because that doesn't, that means that we could see a change as soon as they kind of get their budgets balanced. But that definitely doesn't come at a very opportune time for us.
Yeah, 100%. And do you know the state of the SPR right now, Strategic Petroleum Reserve, in terms of what level
low.
It's at?
Yeah, it's low as shit. Actually, I was looking at that too.
They did back into that again?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did. They backed into it hard. It's at the lowest it's been since 1983.
Yeah, and they kind of have to keep. That's why gas prices hasn't. So you probably noticed higher gas prices just where you are.
We just paid $160 to fill up the Jeep.
That's pretty insane, actually. But yeah, so you notice it, bro. It would be much higher if they didn't dip back into the SPR. Yeah, I wasn't sure what level it was at. It's like, to me, how do you have any left?
I don't know. They just keep on refilling it, I assume. But yeah, it's bad. They're really dipping into it hard. I was looking at a Twitter thread where he was analyzing it, and it's the lowest it's been since 1983. And they project that there's like 40 days left at these rates that they would just be empty. Like it'd be nothing.
Crazy.
So,
man, I want
Are you done?
Y'all remember when Trump bought all that oil for cheap when it was down? I think oil prices went negative for a minute because they couldn't store it or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they did go negative for a bit.
Oil. Man, if he didn't buy that oil, I wonder where we would be right now.
Yeah, dudes, that's the art of the deal right there. He saved us.
Yeah, man. That was actually a good book. I read that book, but yeah.
It is a sick book. I love it. Well, and actually it was funny. I was looking into domestic oil production, and we had like no domestic, like very little. It was very stagnant for like 2 decades, from like the 90s up until like 2012. And then it like shot up. Huh? Say again?
Not until the shale revolution. Yeah. That's when we started being like a big
yeah.
What was this shale revolution you speak of?
Shale oil.
Yeah, shale, like SHALE. That's basically like fracking. So like I can't explain fracking like a scientist, but basically you go into the ground and you break up the shit, and then like somehow it extracts the oil from that, and yeah.
It moves the water, but it's wonderful.
So the reason we need Russia and those guys is because our refineries here are shitty. We don't have as much refinery capacity as like Russia does. So they refine like 70% of our oil. So even if we produce it here, we still have to send it back. Which is why OPEC and everything that happens with them is so important to us. Well, part of the reason why.
And we're also trying to go like carbon neutral. So there's like efforts to bring down domestic production, which in this economy, that means like we're blocking the creation of new oil wells and stuff like that. Whenever we do that, it just causes domestic production to stagnate, and then we rely more on OPEC. It's not like NATO allies are producing anything, so like there's not really any friendlies that we can rely on.
Very true, very true. You know, it's funny, man. Today we got on here and we talked about like a few potential things that could be like a huge downside to the economy. Janet Yellen gets on TV this morning and says, "Yeah, there is nothing I see in the data that points to an economic downturn." I said, "God,
I
damn
knew
it,
I
Yellen."
knew she was gonna say some bullshit based
Bro,
on how you said that.
bro. I mean, it's insane, bro. I'm like, how can okay? I feel like she makes it the most obvious that people in power they lie. She makes it like the most obvious because some people may not know and they're telling the truth and they may not know. Okay, this woman, chairman of the Federal Reserve, treasurer of the secretary, uh, uh, she is known for like creating economic models with her husband, and she is a critic of Austrian economics. I mean, the woman knows her economics, but you sit up there and say that. I mean, that's a blatant lie, bro. Obviously there's some potential to the downside, but she gets up there and say that. I just thought that was funny.
Well, she's a partisan, you know.
Yeah, and they asked her. They brought up the fact that our budget deficit is going to be at like 6% of GDP this year, at like 1.1.5 trillion or whatnot. She kind of just brushed it off. It was weird, man. So you got the deficit itself at 6%, and then you got just to service the debt, that's going to be at 2%. I mean, those are bad numbers, and so we have to sustain a rate of like 3+% growth to really be at our target growth every year. Or else, what I've been saying or what I've been asking, I'm just becoming more convinced that we will be in negative territory. Even though the number won't be negative nominally, in real terms, we'll be contracting. So it's just such a weird time, man. It's weird. It's weird, bro.
Yeah.
And
Yelling that bullshit.
yeah, she definitely yelling that bullshit. Yeah, I like that actually. Jenny, yeah, there she go. Jenny, yeah, yelling that bullshit.
I'm
I
surprised
like
that's not a meme yet.
Hey, that's something
shocked,
that you're
too.
gonna be able to say for the rest of her career too. She always gonna be yelling that bullshit. That's funny. I like that. I like that. So here's another stat. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around, guys. Feel free to bring up another topic, but they also halted the ERC, and I remember bringing that up to you guys that they were pumping in
Employee
like
retention credit.
yeah, they were pumping $20-30 billion a month into the economy. And so here's an interesting stat. So as of July 1st, they initiated 252 investigations of more than $2.8 billion of potentially fraudulent claims.
Sheesh.
Yeah. And so I just wonder, what the health of the consumer is going to look like in the next few months as all these revisions start to play back into the data, as well as stimulus falling off the map, because we're also paying student loans again as well. So I'm just interested to see how that's going to play out on the consumer side of things, because that's really what we've been hinged on. And I agree. It was a guy, Brent Shute. He's actually the chief investment officer of Northwestern. He was on CNBC, and he was saying that in his view, in order for us to have a recession, which he thinks we will, there's going to be an uptick in unemployment. You have to hit wages in order to get in a recession in this environment. And I agree. I'm wondering how all this data is going to play into it, because we saw a 0.3 increase in unemployment just last month. What's that number going to be this month? Next month?
That's gonna be the big one, honestly, because I think people have been waiting for the shoe to fall. Is that it, or the hammer to fall?
Yeah, I think
the
it's
other shoe to fall. Yeah, I think it's the other shoe. Well, because one shoe falls, and you're waiting for the other shoe to fall, because there's two, right?
So like you see, it's like gravity. That makes sense.
Yeah, because you're they come in pairs, right?
Quantum entanglement. Just because you see one shoe, that doesn't necessarily mean you need it. Anyway, go ahead.
And what if someone can be sitting down and their shoe just fall off? All right, we're going too far on this. Go ahead.
But what about quantum entanglement, though? Oh, I didn't think about that. I should tell the idiom guy, hey, dude, you didn't think about this, did you? But, so I think people are waiting for unemployment. So I agree. And this is going to be the month, I think, for us to really see, it to fall. We're going to see it either. It's either going to go up and we're going to be like, oh, shit, okay, there it is. or it's not, and we're going to be scratching our heads and thinking, next month maybe.
Yeah, it's a matter of when, not if.
I think about
next month would be then,
I think about that soft landing versus hard landing debate pretty often, just because I'm like constantly looking for people that I respect, saying that there's going to be anything other than what I think, right? Because I love my confirmation bias. But anyway, Jim Bianco. So I respect this dude a lot. I've been watching him for years and years and years. Bond guy, right? And so he like talks about bonds, and he's a macro guy, of course. But anyway, he's been talking about this concept of a no landing, scenario of no landing, which we just keep growing at a low rate. We just keep going from here, right? And he's basing it on everything that we're talking about. So housing, he's basing it on the labor market. He's basing it on the bond market as well, and bond market issuance and activity. Like, he's going deep into it. It kind of hurt me a little bit. I was like, oh, fuck, okay. I respect him too much, so I need to look more into it. I still don't think there's going to be a no landing scenario either. He's also of the camp that the Federal Reserve, after November, they're done. No matter what, they won't hike.
Is that hiking?
Yeah, okay. No matter what. I don't agree with that, though, just because, first off, we don't fucking know. For two, I think they're going to be forced to hike again. I really do. So, anyway,
and you think that because of energy?
No, for a myriad of reasons. That's probably going to play a factor in it. Energy will, but also the strength of the consumer is deteriorating slowly but surely. And also we're seeing the effects of the labor market. And something got to be done with housing, bro. It's at the most unaffordable point in history. So something has to be done. So I know they're thinking about that as well. Bro, we got to bring the economy back into balance some way. Things aren't going to be normalized, but the Federal Reserve wants to induce a recession. If they could have accomplished their inflation goals without having that inflation, obviously that's a good thing. But we're seeing that they might not be able to here. So their hand is going to be forced from the strength of the consumer, the labor market, the housing market is going to play into that. Energy is going to play into that. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything, but I think that's it. Like all those reasons right there.
Isaac, can I ask you a quick question? Me and JT were trying to figure this out on our book analysis call. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at the M2 money supply, and there's like a slight uptick. We were trying to figure out, for the M2 money supply, does that include funds that are like sent across seas, or is that just funds that remain in the U.S.? Is that like all U.S. dollars, no matter where they're at in the world? Do you know?
I think it's only U.S. I actually could be totally wrong about that.
So when they're printing money in there, or
somebody want to Google it,
when they're giving money to Ukraine or something Google. Like that, I'm wondering if that's included in the M2 money supply, just to kind of.
Well, the money sent to Ukraine is pretty small generally too, so I don't even know if it would have an effect regardless.
Yeah, so M2 is circulating supplies, so there's cash and cash equivalents. So you're talking about certificates of deposits, bank deposits, all that good stuff, right? Even I think money market funds is included in that as well. I think once they leave the border, it's no longer considered circulatory supply in the U.S., which means it's not part of the M2 money supply.
So when it leaves the border, it's almost like that currency's like U.S. dollars getting burned damn near, like it's taken out of circulation.
Yeah, and that's why like a lot of foreign investment, unless they reinvest into America, it's not going to really be inflationary. Like if we're printing money and just sending it away, unless they put that money back into American markets, it's not really an inflationary action.
Yeah, actually, I completely agree. I think that it does not count if it's overseas, because I know China also works kind of as a deflationary source for U.S. dollars, because they take tons of our money and then put them in reserves, essentially, so they can then use that money to manipulate their own currency, because they'll then just buy their own currency in order to maintain, kind of prices where they want to, keep them.
They still the largest holder of our debt, yeah.
I think
Japan is.
Is Japan? I thought they got beat recently, or close to getting beat. Maybe
Maybe I haven't checked in a while, so
largest U.S. I'm so happy we have Google.
I know.
Yeah, Japan's still number one. China's number
Yeah.
two.
Damn.
Then those Brits are number three.
So people think China, like their downfalls, are going to affect us pretty heavily as well. What do you guys think on that? Do you think what's happening over there, like even in their commercial real estate market, do you think is going to have a huge spillover effect to us, especially
Not,
if they deteriorate economically completely?
I think that it is possible, but I don't think it will be as big just because the market's so numb to bullshit at this point.
I mean, I think like obviously it would be impactful. We're already feeling the impacts on our oil prices. Like the Chinese market is so huge and so global and relies on resources from so many other countries that like if they have a if they over forecast production levels that they can't meet, and then they have to renege on certain like trading deals or like imports, yeah, it's going to totally affect us because then you're going to have a bunch of countries like you have in Saudi Arabia and Russia that are having to cut production because they're now taking losses. We'll see this. I mean, and also they're highly integrated with the global market. You have the Silk Road initiative that is highly involved all across the developed world. If China stops being able to produce or starts taking like massive losses that cause them to have a downturn in production, you'll see that spillover effect in all the countries that we get all of our resources from. So yeah, it totally affects us.
Yeah, oil and energy is like different just because like that's truly macro. Like if
It is.
one player is affected, and especially if they're a producer of any type of energy, if that's affected, that's going to affect everyone in the world, no matter what. So I do agree from that standpoint, but I think from every other aspect, we're actually inoculated from China. Um, so we spend about 200 billion or 250 billion in China per year. They buy about 150 billion from it. That's less than 1% of GDP. So outside of oil, I don't think, them having 4 million unoccupied units is going to have a huge effect on us. It's going to be fucked for them. But I don't think that's really going to spill over to our real estate market for one. Maybe you got some big whales in the U.S. who are invested into those like Evergrande and Country Garden. But their pockets are going to be hit, but I don't think there's going to be like a huge spillover effect. Uh, and yeah, man, one thing I heard, I was listening to a podcast. I wish I remember where it was from, but they were talking about the yuan and the acceptance. Oh, it was Lynn Alden, of course. She was talking about broken money, and she was talking about the yuan. She brought up a fucking fantastic point. So she basically said you would think at this point in time the yuan would be more widely accepted than it is, right? And so she gave it a score. It was like a 6 out of 10 or something like that. But anyway, and I start thinking about that, and I'm like, that's very true. And you just brought up the Belt and Road Initiative, and that added another point. And so I'm like, man, that's very true. If you got an initiative where you're providing 99-year loans to these countries to help build out infrastructure, why is it that they still don't feel the need to use or trade in your currency? Why is that? I think the trust factor is too low for China, and I think it'd take centuries to rebuild that.
Wait, are
For
you
like,
saying why don't people use the yuan? Is that what you're saying?
why don't they have more of a foothold when they have a foothold in these countries? Like, so with their Belt and Road Initiative, what they do, guys, is they basically go to countries, promise to help build infrastructure. So they usually work with smaller countries. They help build infrastructure, and their loans that they're providing is like 50 to 100-year loans.
Sounds like the IMF.
Yeah. So like, why isn't that the yuan is it's more accepted? And I think it has to do with trust more than anything.
I mean, I listened to a really good podcast as well. Did you say your podcast was ranking the yuan like on 1 to 10?
No, she just gave it like this score in terms of
Oh,
sellability.
okay.
Meaning like where you can go and use that currency in the world. So like the US dollar, you can pretty much go anywhere. The euro, you can go in a lot of places. So the US dollar was like a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to call it. Bitcoin,
Yeah.
you would say that's kind of a 10 out of 10 because you can kind of use it anywhere in the world, any country you go to. So the sellability of it is what she was referring to.
So there's a really great YouTube channel called Money and Macro, and they do a deep dive, and it's a guy, he's like Danish or something. He does a full-on deep dive into the, well, you know, like not American, he's like Danish or whatever, you know. But
You said it's Money and Macro. I'm gonna go check it out right now.
yeah, Money and Macro.
Okay.
He's sick though. He's a really smart guy, despite, you know, being European. And it's honestly so he does a deep dive into I have no hate for Europeans. I love them. They're great people. I don't know why it's funny to make fun of
Oh
to
my
say
God.
that. But you know, don't cancel me for this anti-European nonsense I'm
shit.
spewing.
Hey, so I
you
know
good.
I
Go
sat in
ahead.
a room with Europeans once. Well, quite
Oh,
a bit, but
are you
this-
okay?
And no, look, they do fuck up your mind a little bit, bro. Because I mean, look, I've hung out with some smart fucking European folks, bro, and these people, they were quite not smart. They were quite dumb, to be honest. And I remember thinking in the moment, like, damn, even though they're not making sense, it's like it still sounds so fucking believable, bro.
Were these
Just because of
English
their
people?
accent. Yes.
Okay, English people have they got honestly like world-class accent. It's really not fair because I've been
It's
in
not.
debates with English people and I'm like, I know I am winning this, but like your little, man, have you thought about this? You know, if you looked at the blah blah blah, and I'm just like, fuck, damn, like you just sound smarter than me. Like
They
I
just
can't
sound
compete.
right, bro. Fuck. That's
I
so
know that
fuck-
you're not saying any, like what you're saying makes no sense, but it just sounds smarter just because you're English. Like good, great.
That's funny.
I love it.
Yeah, well, I'm jealous. If anything, that's where the hate comes from.
Why? Because you're
what was
just
I talking
white?
about?
No, I'm just
You
playing.
were talking about Money and Macro. I'm about to subscribe to the channel right now.
Yeah,
Yes, Money
dude,
and
please
Macro.
do. They're sick. They do an episode where he does what you were saying, JT, but really in depth. He ranks the dollar, the yuan, and then he also ranks the prospective digital yuan that they're kind of playing with right now, and they're looking to, you know, make like their official international, you know, currency of transaction. And it's cool because he was kind of looking at like, why isn't the yuan used as much as the dollar, despite the fact, I call it the Silk Road Initiative, but it is the Belt and Road Initiative. Despite the fact that there's the Belt and Road Initiative and you have all these other company or countries getting like tons of investment from China, the reason why is because China is not yet a consumption economy to the same level that the US is. Because the US is a consumption economy, you have to think of international trade as the selling of
You want to define
your
consumption?
currency.
Like when you say consumption, just buying goods and services within the country?
Ex-importer. Net
Yeah.
importer.
Yes, so China, basically
Okay.
to keep it simple, so China does more manufacturing than it does buying from other countries. We do the opposite.
Yeah.
Got
We
you.
do the opposite. We have a net export, and we've had that for like decades.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's actually, that can be, and a lot of people like, you know, give that crap. They're like, that's bad because it brings down the GDP and yada yada. It loses capital goods because when you're doing that, you're usually not investing in like productive capital goods. But what it does that is great for the US is it creates demand for the US dollar. Because when countries, you know, when we buy goods from other countries, what are they buying? They're buying our dollars. And that takes our dollars and it puts them in those countries' reserves. So it's super easy to make a reserve currency out of a dollar that you're already buying in order to export because of just how much, like we're a huge export or import economy. We have the third largest population in the world. We have a extremely high GDP per capita given our massive population. We're net importers. So a ton of countries buy US dollars and that's why they trust it. And also then you can put on the other things. We're the largest naval power. We control the seaways. We are just the largest military generally. You know, the Bretton Woods system was built around the idea of the US dollar being a stand-in for the gold standard. We then got rid of the gold standard, but we kept the US dollar. So like, but China doesn't have any of those things. It has no post-war consensus, which is the Bretton Woods system. It is not able to power project in the same way we are. And it's not a net exporter. It doesn't have the same level of high GDP per capita consumption economy like we do. And I don't think they ever will. And the reason why is because they have to control the flow of their currency over their borders in order to prevent capital flight. Because if they were to, because right now, and I said this on a previous podcast,
They force people to do everything.
they do, and you can't exchange your currency, your yuan, for foreign currencies without the government's approval. So the government controls all foreign currency exchange, and they're real tight about it. And it's for good reason. They want you to get paid as a rich Chinese person in a currency that you can't trade for foreign currencies. Because if you could, you'd leave the country.
All the rich people would leave, yeah. That's
would
crazy.
leave.
Guys, this is why Bitcoin activity is so big there, because people want out of that shit, but they can't.
Yeah.
Yo, I gotta say,
it's
that
a release
makes
valve.
total. I feel like that answered the question, as to why. I mean, if you keep it as simple as a consumption economy versus a production economy, I mean, that totally makes sense, because we're literally like, here, we'll buy from you, but just hold our dollars.
Yep.
I mean, simple
And that's
as that.
literally what we
We'll
do.
buy, just hold our dollars. Yeah, that answers my question, because they don't have that type of economy. And
No.
people actually want to leave China and get out of the yuan, which we've experienced just recently with capital flight. They're putting more restrictions even on the products you can use. That's why they don't want their people to use Bitcoin. I mean, it's insane, bro. That answers my question. I saw a video of Xi getting on a train, right? You guys know where I'm going with this?
She
No.
getting on a train. What?
Okay. Xi. Did I say his name wrong? Xi.
Yeah,
the fuck is his
Xi
name, bro?
Jinping.
Yeah. Xi
Wait.
Jinping.
The honorable chairman.
Bro, the dictator of fucking China, okay? He got on the train. He was getting on a train.
I thought this was some sex joke, bro. Like, she's getting on a train.
I know,
okay.
I knew that's what you were thinking.
Bruh. I do not want a sex joke
Bro.
with Xi Jinping in it. I do not.
Bro, my man's is getting on a bulletproof train. So he got on a bulletproof train. Do you want to know how he got on that train?
I'm assuming he fucking walked.
He got on it in a limousine.
What?
No.
Bro,
A
think
bulletproof
about...
limousine?
No, he got on a bulletproof train. Like, they backed the limousine into the train. And that's how he got on the train. And the train itself, so clean. You could tell it's so luxury on the inside.
Mhm.
I'm like, bro, like, that's not even rich anymore. That's power. That's what that is.
Yeah.
That's not rich. That's not wealth. That is power. I'm like, bro, you know how many people don't got vehicles where you live? You got a bulletproof train. You probably never even seen the back half. And you're in a limo. You probably never seen the front half. I was like, holy fuck, bro. Like, that's power, bro. That's power. It's almost like you would want to be in Xi's position, but it would also...
Right, you butchered that.
But yeah, it would also suck at the same time. It's like, fuck, bro, you don't have a friend, bro. You have no friends.
that dude does not have a friend. It can't exist, unfortunately.
Well, probably the train company. Say no.
Nah, they're scraping off. No, they're a part of that whole system's so corrupt. Because that's just how it goes. When you have like a full government bureaucracy, they're all taken a little bit off the top, just how it goes. You got to pay for loyalty. That's how you pay for loyalty, because you'll get killed otherwise,
Yeah,
Pretty much.
That's true.
Pretty much. So yeah, guys.
Well, what's your guys' So before I ask you guys about crypto and shit, I was looking at the M2 because we never kind of closed that loop. There's an uptick. Where's this uptick coming from? Do you guys know or have any ideas? It's still trending downward, but it's a pretty big uptick.
Hold on.
There was a sell-off in the bond market. When did it uptick? Like today?
Yeah.
So it upticked. Hold on. It's been on an uptick since April.
Since
now.
April.
Yeah, let me share my screen.
I wonder. Yeah.
Hold on.
I observed this little uptick a bit ago. I thought that it might have something to do with the bank, FDIC bank bailouts that were occurring.
Yeah, can you guys see this?
Possibly,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, so since let me hide this. So since April 2023, we went from 20.71 trillion to 20.9. So what's that? 200 billion in the past few months. The balance sheet.
That sounds a lot like stimulus. Because remember, all right. So we have the CHIPS Act, we have the Inflation Reduction Act, we have the ERC, and we also have, I'm forgetting one. But you get my point. It's a lot of fiscal stimulus that has been injected into the economy since April. So, I mean, this probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, the central bank balance sheet still trending downward. I'm just going to go through a few of these. Gold is still just consolidating. The S&P is still near all-time highs. The Dow still near all-time highs.
Nice.
The Nasdaq still just up there. Apple had a little correction, but it's still holding. It turned its all-time high, it looks like, into support in the past fucking 2 months, which is insane.
So some about indices real quick, because I know you're moving on to the individual stocks, but so the Nasdaq was up or down like 17% year to date. I was just looking today. The Nasdaq 100 is up like 40%.
This is wild. It's like, so maybe this is the start of a downtrend. I mean, fuck, but you don't know.
No, but it's
too
showing
soon to
you
tell.
the divergence between like large cap stocks and mid cap and small cap. Even like the Russell 2K, Russell 2000 is down for the year as well. And so, I mean, there's just been a big divergence. So I don't know. It's like we could enter a time where large cap stocks just have larger multiples going forward, and that could be sustained. I mean, that would be plausible. And it was
money in the system, more multiples at the end of the day, I guess. Makes sense.
Yeah, but also it just screams frothy ass shit. And so every fund like has these large cap stocks on their books. I mean, like, it's just overbought. So I mean, it's just an interesting environment, bro, because like I'm not some expert technical analysis guy, but isn't this forming like damn near a double top? It's looking like it could be a double top soon.
I mean, so this is the monthly chart, but a double top has to like retest here. I wouldn't be surprised if we got back up there, but we could also justify this being a downtrend. It's creating a higher low or a lower high, I meant to say. But only time will tell. Like, some more time needs to go by. I did want to look at a few crypto stocks here. So Bitcoin still trading in this range. I think we're gonna still just chop in here until at least elections. But like I said, I don't know what's gonna happen. I exit out my short in a profit. Ethereum's kind of doing the same thing, and then just the whole crypto market as a whole. I think we probably have one more leg down to touch this as support before we, start to take off. But it's hard to tell. But this is my biggest bag right here, Radix. I've been talking about this for a while. They're about to launch their smart contracts in the 27th. And, I've made a lot of videos on this, but I think they have superior technology. So we'll see how that goes. Market cap's pretty small, excellent tokenomics, all that stuff. Developer activity's growing. But I would just like to tell people, just because the markets are boring doesn't mean there isn't opportunities. So just keep your eyes open. Just keep your eyes open. Is what I would say.
I posted some on Twitter. Go ahead.
No. I have a bit of a divergence, so you go for it.
No, I was just gonna say super quickly
you about to talk about that stinky link.
Yeah. So I posted something on Twitter about Chainlink, and that's like literally a good example, bro.
Like, what are these guys talking about?
I was a little confused.
Yeah, no, man. They're working with Swift. Long story short, they're working with Swift to be like their bridge between different blockchains.
Swift is the financial system, pretty much.
Yeah. So I mean, that alone, I posted the graph out of that article. I posted the graph. I just screenshot it and posted that. and it shows you like where they would sit in between Swift and all of the blockchains that Swift operates with, which will be most blockchains that are institutional grade that exist in the future. Period. Probably all of them actually. And yeah, it's not far down that one right there. And I posted the article above if people wanted to read it. But yeah, so this right here, you know, I'm not a tech guy, so I'm not going to get into CCIP and all that good stuff. But yes, so what they're doing is basically been that bridge for interoperability for Swift to be interoperable with, let's say, even Ripple or XRP once Ripple gets their shit figured out, and say if they're actually used for cross-border payments in a larger sense, then they will work with Swift. Or if any, like even BlackRock did something on the blockchain, any institution, if they built anything on the blockchain, they would use Swift to transfer payments, which we know companies love sending money cross borders or to the Federal Reserve or whatever it may be. And so there's going to be a ton of transactions that Chainlink or Link sits in the middle of. And I think just because of the platform itself, not Link, because Link is not going to be used in this. But just because of the Oracle platform itself, the value for Chainlink, man, this is not financial advice. The value for Chainlink is still, in my mind, it's hard for me to even fathom, to be honest.
I agree.
From a fundamental standpoint, because they're so important to the system. And I feel like this was obvious when they first invented this back in like 2017. It was kind of obvious, like they would be so important.
Yeah, they're kind of like what fiber optic cables are to the internet, like help everything connect and run. Different servers talk to different servers, all that stuff. Like that's literally what they are. They're the plumbing. And their nearest competitor, which is like band protocol or some shit like that, is just miles away. Like it's not
RAC is actually RAC past band, but still it's not close. They're literally like over double the volume.
Yeah, it's a lot of the projects that are still sticking around are the real OGs. Like the real projects are building during these times. So yeah, definitely keep Chainlink on your radar.
It's weird. Crypto is like a weird thing where like people, they get more scared. So in stocks, when you see a pullback, people get optimistic and they want to buy. Crypto, only a small percentage get optimistic. Everybody else start pulling out.
And some people still think it's not going to be around.
Right. And when you see a bull run, that's when people start to pile back in. And it's just so counterintuitive. It's so weird. But it's like, you know, I personally feel confident and I feel okay just DCAing right now on certain projects that you feel comfortable going long on. If it's a trade, I can't help you, buddy. But if it's something that you feel comfortable going long on, there are projects right now. I mean, they're truly solidifying themselves for the next cycle because the next cycle in the bull run will be focused on utility more than ever.
Utility and real yield, I would say.
I agree.
Yep. So, yeah, guys, lots of opportunities. So, definitely join our Know It Alls Discord. We're going to be talking about way more stuff, because this is what we do. So,
all day, every day.
Yeah, I guess so. For our next one, I already mentioned the changes I've made to my portfolio. You guys, I'm assuming, are still of the same camp. No big changes before we wrap up.
No, I'll just bring up the Ventas just because I did that book analysis call. I feel like it's more appropriate for this call. So Ventas, it's a senior housing REIT, dividend, 4% dividend. So yeah, that's just something I'm
quarterly?
monitoring. Quarterly, yes.
Okay.
And that's something that I'm monitoring. Like I said, it's senior housing. So if you're looking for if you're a real estate stock guy, not financial advice, what I'm looking into, just because I do like real estate and I've been more into the real estate stocks this last year. But yeah, the senior housing REIT, Ventas, 4% dividend yield, and it's senior housing. So I think that's going to be a good play going forward as boomers start to retire and fall off the map.
Isaac, you making any changes to your portfolio?
Nope. Just steady, safe and steady, Mr. Cautious.
You sound like Adam's dad.
Yeah, and I wouldn't
Sound like who?
recommend people like
My buddy's daddy. He always says that.
I
Oh
would
yeah,
never recommend like in an environment like this. You shouldn't be making a lot of moves anyway. In my opinion, that's just my opinion.
that's where I'm at.
So
Yeah.
this is dangerous, bro. Like you don't know, like you got people still saying buy Apple.
What?
Yeah, they definitely are still saying that. I know
Buy
some
Meta.
people-
Yeah,
Wow. Jail time. That's what I'd say.
yeah. Like if I'm talking about advisors, licensed individuals who have like investment licenses and they had to take exams, they're like buy Apple. Bro, you're fucking dumb. And that's why your clients are gonna leave in the first place. But anyway,
Yeah.
Free market.
Where can they
Yeah.
find you guys?
On Twitter.
I guess that was a shitty way to ask it. It's my first time.
We're probably most of them listen to us. Like, I don't know.
So, for people watching this on YouTube, what's your Twitter, Isaac?
well, we
I
don't know
think
if the
it's-
YouTube people will ever see this video yet, so
Well,
Oh yeah,
assume
for
they
the
will,
YouTube
but-
people. I'm Isaac Schick 76 on Twitter, and it's ISAAC, and it's a German last name, so it's SCHICK.
are you German?
Yeah, ethnically, I mean, I'm American, but like like
Do you
ethnically,
speak
I'm German.
Do you speak German or no?
No, I just it's a
Okay.
German last name because that's like we didn't change it, I guess, but. No, I haven't- Yeah, I
Oh,
haven't.
God.
My family hasn't been to Germany since the 1880s. It's been a.
JT every time
It's been a
he'll
while.
learn. He'll learn.
It's been a
he
while,
Has this,
yeah.
He has this thing where he'll learn one fucking saying in a language, and then he'll go say it to somebody, and it'll be wrong.
Hey,
Wait, what's the saying? You said Icken.
I don't know,
the only
No, let me tell the story. Look, we were selling credit card processing. This was like back in 2017 or some shit.
All right.
And we had this Asian guy who we were trying to close, and
He was Korean specifically.
Korean. JT learned, I guess, how to say hello supposedly.
And I
he
thought it was how are you doing?
And he went in there, and this is like a no frills, like straight shooter to the point kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like no bullshit kind of guy. And JT just goes,
Oh,
he's like, Oto Kitchen, eh? And the guy's like, what?
It's so
oh
fucking
my
funny.
god, bro! I thought I was saying how are you doing to the guy, bro? Because that I learned it from a girl.
What were
some
you
girl
saying?
at the time?
I don't know.
So it's Oto Kechene, and maybe somebody, if you know Korean, leave it in the comments. But I thought it meant how you doing. You know, how are you doing?
Yeah, yeah.
And so when I asked, it seemed like I offended him. So fuck, I don't know.
He told us how to say it, but he basically told us like, yeah, what you said was nothing.
Well, I mean, he shouldn't have been offended. Maybe I don't know. That's a little much.
That's so funny, man. I know a little Russian though.
It was just funny,
Yeah,
but-
that's real words.
It was just
Russian?
funny because I was already talking to the guy, and I can tell that he was just waiting for that. He didn't want to say hi first or nothing.
Yeah.
He was just standing there, and then we paused, and then he came out with that shit.
Yeah. He's like,
Oh,
I'm not trying to
man.
give a Korean lesson. Just tell him what you want.
That's hilarious, man. I don't know why I did that in the first place. We did some
We were
funny
trying to
things
close
in
the
past.
damn deal. We was trying to build rapport. That's why.
Even if that worked, that wouldn't have helped.
See, I can speak your language. I am trying, trying to build trust.
Oh,
He's like,
man.
the fuck?
as soon as he, even if he had said hello, and he probably would have. Normally, when somebody says that, they'll like, "Oh, you know our language," and they'll
Yeah,
say
yeah.
something else. He'd have been like, "That's all I got."
Dude, that's so funny.
That's
That was
funny,
just
bro.
gibberish. He's like, "Are you
Yeah.
mocking me? Like, this is just gibberish." Just a bunch of.
It's like I don't know. I
gibberish.
don't know if it was embarrassing because I don't have like an awkward bone in my body, so I don't know. Like
That's sick. That can be.
Yeah,
That can be very
now
beneficial
that I'm
for
an
business.
adult, I actually agree because I always tell people like, man, I really don't get embarrassed or anything.
I don't
like,
be
I'll
getting
just
embarrassed
laugh with
either,
you.
honestly.
And it's like,
Yeah.
fuck, it's hard for me
You
to
just gotta
tell when
laugh it off.
situation's awkward and shit. Yeah.
You know, I'll give you that. I remember you told the Melinda story, and you left out the whole pun, and just everybody looked at you, and you just continued on with the speech.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was embarrassing. Yeah. but it's like I don't feel it. Like I don't be feeling it ever. But like
Supposedly, I
logically-
was embarrassing,
Yeah,
but
logically that was an embarrassing moment, like just objectively speaking, but like subjectively,
bruh, that is the most like gregarious way you could have put that. Logically, I should have been embarrassed, but
yeah. All right, I see we like using big words, so yeah, I will gregariously. I couldn't finish the sentence actually. Fuck.
That's one of those embarrassing moments again. So,
Yeah. That was embarrassing.
Yeah. No, my emotional intelligence is somewhat limited to logic.
Boom.
Oh,
Man, you and Ben
God.
Shapiro should like do a podcast. Only
Yeah.
facts and logic with me.
Yeah, maybe that'd probably be a good one.
Let me say, I
I
couldn't
would
watch
tell,
that.
I would tell him to ask me some questions that he always wanted to ask black people that he never did. Bro,
Man, I wonder what he would even say.
white conservative
What would
guys.
he,
they
he
actually
probably would
love
be
that.
like,
I love it too because I want to know, like, damn, what do you guys think, bro? Because look, I'm
Well,
from
he
6
wouldn't
Mile,
do it with the
Detroit.
camera
I'm from
on, though.
like there, and I'm here. It's like I'm a hybrid human, so and I got rhino skin, so it's like I would love to just hear what your real thoughts are, and let's talk about it because it's interesting. Fuck, it really is. Because a lot of people would just say they're racist, and I don't think so. They just have like preconceived notions, and sometimes it's like, fuck, And I understand if I see some fucking white guy with a tattoo on his face and he got on a slightly brown beater, that man can have 500 grand in his pocket. I'm gonna think he's a fucking meth head, and I'll probably have to beat him up if he gets too close.
A brown beater is the funny
Like a
part.
dirty beater, yeah.
what's a brown beater?
Oh, I thought you just meant like a brown white beater. I'm like, that's oddly specific.
Yeah, no, I see him a lot.
Oh, like a tank?
Yeah, tank top, yep.
Oh,
They call
okay.
them, Isaac, I don't know if you know this, but they call them wife beaters because, like, back in the day, and a lot of movies when people were beating their wives, they were wearing them, so they call them white beaters.
Oh, that's anti-Italian BS. Because
Yeah,
the
they
people
wear
they were
beaters a lot,
depicting
huh?
with wife beaters.
Is
in
that
these
an Italian
movies.
thing?
They would make them because it's all the Italians, who are like
Get
American
the fuck
ethnics.
out of here!
Yeah, get the fuck
you're
out
right.
of here, huh? Like,
You're
they
right,
got
you're right,
the
actually.
tank top on. That's anti-Italian rhetoric in Hollywood right there. They're depicting the poor Italians.
I love Italians.
I love Italians. Dude, talk about straight shooters. They're some of the funniest, most like I don't know, they don't mind offending you, which is what I like about them,
They don't.
Yeah.
Thomas is Italian, our guy Thomas.
That makes a
Oh,
lot
really?
of sense.
Ah,
Yeah.
cool.
He said, "Oh, really?"
Wait, you
Oh.
know Thomas, Isaac?
I haven't had a lot of time with him though.
Wait, are
Wait,
you
wait,
serious?
With Thomas? I don't
Wait,
think
now
so.
I'm confused.
Are you talking about Thomas Evans, bro? James?
Yeah,
Who are we talking about?
I didn't want to say his whole name just on a stream like that, but yeah.
I didn't want to dox him there.
HOA. Go check him out. That's awkward.
Oh man. Okay, stream over. Sorry, no, but but yeah, man. So yeah, Italians are cool. Chinese people are also cool. Korean people, they love me. So yeah,
I
stuff,
heard.
guys.
Yeah, I heard they're big fans.
Yeah, you just confuse them, that's all. Say no.
all right. Well,
All right,
guys, I was gonna say something in Russian, but I forgot. Oh, ya тебя люблю. I just told you guys I loved you.
That's very
Mm.
sweet.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah, we're gonna get a Russian on here to confirm,
that's
please.
actually true. I know for a fact that that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Have Russians confirm this?
I'm talking
Okay.
about pure Russian. I'm talking accent and everything. So no, I'm just playing. But I mean, I'm gonna get myself in trouble.
All right, guys.
Okay, cool. Well,
Well, thanks for joining us here, and we'll see y'all on the next one after the next Fed meetings tomorrow, right?
Yep. Tomorrow and then the last day is the day after that. So we will know on Wednesday.
Tune in next Monday and get yourself a grow it out by Friday, and that's it.
Appreciate you guys as always.
3
Let's
thumbs
do
up
it.
in a row. All right.